close. Let's do a little bit of a journalism criticism here at the top, Kevin. When you approach a trip like this, you showed me the itinerary beforehand. I got exhausted looking at all of it, all that you were going to be doing, all the hits that you're going to be doing on the trip. How do you fold social media into that? How does that help you process or keep abreast of what's happening while you're in the field?
It's really like keeping a notebook, but I also think that I've been lucky enough to work with Matt Tomlin and Kat Glass in terms of all the logistics. But, you know, look, I spent a lot of time on buses on the campaign trail. We spent a lot of time on buses, David, here, traveling from airports to the different hotel sites and what have you. And the first thing I noticed when I got on the ground in the Middle East, never been there before, was all of these signs from the Saudis, from the Israelis, welcoming President Trump. And it was really everywhere. You couldn't go anywhere without seeing President Trump's face. And it was really it was the first thing you notice. And so I think a lot of the advantage of being on the ground, as you know, David, is to really get that feel, that all-encompassing feel. And that was a stark contrast on what we experienced here in Europe, where there wasn't any of that. Yeah,
you traded the campaign bus for #PressForce1 while you were overseas with the president. We've heard from some of the graybeards during the last hour, Ian Bremmer, Richard Haass of the Council on Foreign Relations. They told us what they saw versus their expectations. How about you? You met with the folks from the White House beforehand, heard what they wanted to accomplish on this trip. How close did they come to meeting what they wanted to do?
You know, honestly, the takeaway for me on this trip, David, were the people who aren't perhaps known names. You know, it's the organizers, the local journalists, and particularly in Riyadh, I think the big takeaway that I'll remember is Lockheed Martin CEO Marilyn Hewson, who of course is one of the world's most influential executives. She's a female. She helped negotiate and ink part of the $400 billion investment plan with the Saudis in a country where women aren't able to drive cars. She presented to the Saudis. She helped ink that deal. I think that's the type of example that country, not to get too lecturing, needs. I will never forget speaking with one 20-something female local reporter there in Saudi Arabia, who told me that, quote unquote, tolerance isn't happening fast enough. And so any type of person that I came in contact with in Riyadh connected to prominent Saudi-based companies, we can all figure out which ones I'm talking about, really tried to make the case that perhaps civil rights was advancing faster. But I also won't forget speaking to a 20-something young man over there who said that you can't spin your way out of these types of issues. And so I think it was interesting, beyond just seeing the business investments coming, but also the example that U.S. executives, David, are setting by being over there to help push along progress in a country like that, which is a beautiful culture filled with nice people, but still has a ways to go on a host of different issues.